where we help growth stage founders build businesses that don't just make money, they actually scale value. I'm your host, Joe Carter from the Twin Flame Group. You know, too many founders think that visibility is all about showing up everywhere. But the truth is, you don't need more exposure, you need the right kind of exposure. And today's guest knows exactly how to make that happen. So if you've ever asked questions like, how do I get more visibility? Should I be on a podcast or in the press? How do I build authority without feeling like a fraud? This episode is your playbook. So let's dive in. I've got someone super special in the studio today. His name is JJ Carter, no relation, founder of Gldn PR. JJ isn't your average publicist. He's a brand architect for bold leaders who want to be unignorable. His team behind the scenes helps fast growth founders, TED speakers, and executive thought leaders that you've probably seen everywhere. We're breaking down modern PR, authority building, and how to position yourself as the go-to name in your space. So JJ, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Joe, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's take it back a little bit. Let's jump in
Yeah.
the DeLorean. Go back with the kind of the backstory. What's the origin of Gldn PR?
Yeah. So I'm JJ Carter, obviously the founder, CEO of Gldn PR. We're like a results-driven public relations firm. But long before this, we weren't always doing PR. I'm fairly young. I'm 23 years old, going on 24, which is super fun. But I've always been into this space, marketing, advertising, branding, helping different companies run multi-million dollar ad campaigns all throughout high school. So as soon as I graduated high school, I kind of went that route. Met a lot of really cool people, built a really great network in that space. And then from there, I just decided that I wanted to do it on my own and build my own company from the experience that I had building all these different brands and helping them with their ads. And that's how Gldn was formed. We started a little bit as like a marketing agency, that sort of thing, and then it quickly shifted right into PR branding and like the stuff that actually moves the needle. So it's been a couple of years now, like 5 or 6 since that like shift has happened, and here we are.
That's amazing. So obviously there's some shifts and some pivots that occurred that you just referenced. What was that gap that you saw in the PR space that you were hungry to fix?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of gaps in the PR space. If you're ever like looking for PR firms, you're following some of them, you'll know very quickly. Back then, when I started, it was very we were shifting into this modern world of like digital advertising and digital everything. And like when I first started, I was literally having to teach people how to join a Zoom call, let alone jumping on whatever and figuring out how to talk to me, right? And that was in 2020. So like it, and we're in 2026 now. I mean, the world's moving super like way faster than it was before. Anyways, at that time, if you wanted to go a brand strategy route or do or build an online brand online, you had to either go with a very traditional firm that's going to string you along for like 3, 4, 5 months, going over strategy and what we're going to do, but not actually executing on it. Bunch of suits and ties, just keeping you on retainer. Or you're going a very modern route where guys are just like reselling press releases or selling this or selling that. And you know, you can't find anybody reputable or authoritative in the space. And that's where I kind of found my little lane, where I applied a little bit of both strategies. Like I don't want to shy away from the traditional brand strategy sense, and I don't want to shy away from like the stuff that's actually moving the needle on digital press and stuff. And I kind of just built the middle ground, and I serve a lot of clients that way. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's a humongous gap, and I agree that there was like two ends of the spectrum with very little, if anything, in the middle. So fantastic recognition on your part. What's the
Mhm.
biggest like misconception that founders have about PR today?
All kinds of misconceptions. I mean, I think anymore, like people think PR probably goes down with like people in like consulting or something. It's just like it always gets a bad rap for like the other people in it, but it never gets like promoted for the good people that are running it. And I think the biggest misconception um, in PR specifically is like probably like all the paid to play stuff. Like people think when you pay for articles or you pay for this or you're paying a firm to help you gain exposure, for some reason that destroys your credibility. But I think that's like the biggest lie that people are talking about, or that I think, that I personally believe, because I think anymore, it's like if you want to get in front of people, you kind of have to go that route. And if you want to get in front of people fast, then going with the experts is probably the way to do it. People are paying consultants or marketing agencies or ad campaigns or this, that, the other thing every single day. But for some reason, when it comes to PR, everybody gets this pukey taste in their mouth, and I think like that's probably the biggest thing that we differentiate. But we're also not just press. We're more like, we call ourselves like growth partners. We're more like growing you and helping you build your brands with the stuff that actually matters.
That's awesome. And I've talked to a bunch of different colleagues and asked them like, "Have you ever used a PR firm? What do you think?" And just to summarize those conversations, a lot of them think it's like red carpets or press releases and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But when a founder comes to you and says, "I need PR," what do they usually mean, and what is it that they like actually need?
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about this before a while ago. I think like the biggest thing that founders come to me when they think that they need PR is because they don't necessarily know what they need. So they just kind of chop it up to PR, because PR could be mean anything, right? Like it could mean, getting featured in the press. It could mean a brand strategy that's going to help you. It could mean something else. But usually when founders come to us, I think like we like to break that all down and figure out exactly where they're lacking and then apply a strategy to that. So a lot of people might be lacking in their sales process and need to become more credible or authoritative. A lot of people might be lacking in their marketing campaigns, and we have to apply like a strategy for that to bring traffic into their business. So I think most founders are coming to us with the preconceived notion that they need a PR firm, but they don't necessarily know exactly what they need in their business. And that takes an expert like ourselves or like myself to kind of really dive in, and look for different triggers that I've been used to looking for behind like running ad campaigns or building websites or doing this or doing that for other people, and finding exactly what they need and then applying PR into it. And then usually that moves the needle tremendously for them, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And being a founder myself, I know that founders ultimately, at least at the beginning, have to become the face of their brand. And
Yeah.
there's many different ways to do that, not just get likes, but it needs to drive a business outcome, right? So, what does it actually mean to be unignorable, and what separates like real authority from just noisy exposure?
Yeah. To your point, I do like, I want to kind of talk about that a little bit more, of like founders becoming the face of their brands, because I think that is very important anymore. I think you see that with some of the biggest industry leaders that like we know of today, with like that are running some of the biggest companies, people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Sam Altman, or the list goes, Bill Gates, the list goes on, of these like Fortune 500 CEOs that have become household names. And I think that shift happened like probably as of like the 2010 era of like people wanting to step into that world. Um, and I think that's so fascinating to see the people pioneering it. As far as like well, your question was like empty exposure and stuff, and like
Yeah, real
between
authority from
real
like just
authority.
kind of noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like that, it's cool because like I think with real authority is not necessarily the person with the most amount of views or that's going super viral or is getting the most amount of clicks or whatever. I think real authority is driven by, you have the ability to move your market in a remarkable way. That's like what ultimate authority is. Like somebody like Elon Musk has so much authority that with his brand that he's able to launch whatever kind of business that he wants to launch, whether he's sending rockets to space, building cars, sending satellites into space, or running a government agency, contrary to what you might believe. He has the authority to be able to do that, in a way where no matter what he touches, it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar brand or company, which is really fascinating. And at a smaller scale, I think like some of the most authoritative people in our space would be people like Alex Ramosi or these kinds of guys that have built these really reputable brands, but towards like a very niche audience that they capitalize. And most people, no matter who you are in the industry, if you own some sort of online business or you do any kind of online work, you probably know who Hermosi is. And that's the kind of authority that's going to sell out hundreds of millions of dollars worth of books when he jumps on a live stream. So I think that's like real authority. empty exposure could be anything. It's like the average celebrity that's going viral on TikTok, or the average person that's going super viral at whatever kind of thing, and they don't actually have the authority to drive that market into their venture. So yeah, that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, I love that. Celebrity driven versus founder driven are two completely different personas that require a different type of strategy. You don't just want views, likes, comments on something. You want to be seen as a differentiator. So I love that. But how do we get tactical? Like, how do you reverse engineer a strategy that creates leverage but not just attention?
Yeah. Um, how I get tactical, because obviously, I mean, not everybody's equipped for the attention. And a lot of times it does boil down to how, like, if you really want a PR campaign to move the needle for you, it's about how you integrate it into your system. So, how we usually get tactical is like building a foundation for the person and getting a little bit of everything, like a little, like getting them ranking really well on Google, getting them on podcast appearances, getting them on TV, doing a bunch of social media stuff, optimizing their profiles and stuff to the point where like we could apply that and integrate it into your system. So like, let's say you're trying to, at the end of the day, I think people like that are trying to ultimately make more money with the campaign and see an ROI from it. And I think the fastest way to do that is by like taking press releases, integrating them in, whether it's sales emails or, hey, check out this video or podcast that I've done or whatever, and then speeding that sales cycle up and pre-influencing a buying decision. So when people are coming to your business or people are coming to your store or whatever, and they want to work with you, they should be ready to buy as soon as they get on a call with you. And that's done by taking existing, like we call them digital assets, so like a podcast, a television press release, and integrating that into your existing process, and just refining that. And I think that's something that we're really good at, something I'm personally really good at, just because I've been across so many different industries and businesses and stuff. So PR is just like the icing on the cake for me. And yeah, I think that moves markets. That's how we get super tactical. And then obviously the more we could build and get exposure up and stuff, that'd be preferred. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. You mentioned something that I'd love to just kind of go a tad deeper on if you don't mind. So you mentioned
Mhm.
not everybody's like 100% there in terms of ready and you have to create that kind of foundation. So what makes someone truly media ready?
Yeah. It depends on what you're using the media for, right? If you're just trying to become like an icon or like a social figure or whatever, that boils down to like a lot of different aspects of like what kind of person are you quick, are you able to ride these trends, are you able to speak on these trends, are you able to be well versed in your, I mean, there's so much that comes up with somebody that's like good in front of a camera, right? But I think when it comes to a business, like most of the people that are coming to us for or to grow their businesses, I think like not everybody is ready for the level of exposure that some of these high tier places can provide, just due to the fact that their business isn't yet equipped to take that on. Like, I could get you on Joe Rogan, for example, tomorrow, but if your website doesn't work and nobody could put their email in and stuff, and 3 days later, 10 million people watched the interview, your business wasn't equipped to do it. Well, all of a sudden, a Joe Rogan podcast didn't make you money and it didn't make you the ROI. So like you just weren't ready for it. So I think like being very articulate with like who, what, when, where, why we're doing these kinds of media appearances is very, very important. I think that's what makes us so different, is because we look at those things and make sure those are ironed out. And as soon as you are able to, I mean, you teach this a lot too, Joe, with a lot of the stuff like of stepping out of your business, talking exit strategy and everything. Like your business internally should be at a position where it could scale without you. And once you're in that position, then, you should cover the front end, especially in 2026, with as much info product as you could. So doing speaking engagements, webinars, driving traffic to your brand while your business is able to scale and take on that volume without you. So then you could step into the face and grow, and not have to do much of the day to day. And I think that's what, is like the biggest green flag of somebody being ready for the media.
Love it. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, is Joe media ready? What do you think? Am I doing
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. We've been working. I think it's awesome. Whatever, like everything that you're doing, I think you're definitely media ready. You're good in front of a camera and all that. So it's fun.
All right. Woo! All right. The Joe Rogan podcast coming.
Mhm.
Well, just kidding. Let's keep on that.
Yeah.
I digress. Going back to kind of what we were talking about, I've actually had the opportunity many times over to sit across the table from investors, and I know like if they don't trust you, they don't buy from you. So how does a leader prove credibility fast in what is very much a noisy market out there?
Yeah, and that's very true. I was just like reading a bunch of stuff like in our own things that we're doing, and I believe the World Economic Forum just quoted that um, a company's reputation makes up over 25% of their valuation. So how much you could actually sell for, especially when you're in front of like different investors and everything. Like people sometimes associate like PR is not like it's not a direct ROI kind of campaign or strategy. You're not going to see, you input this, you output that, right? It's very like they really do become assets you use forever, and that could be very diverse. So whether it's on in front of investors, whether you're going to exit your company and all of this stuff, and you're building that reputation, you could see a lot bigger returns when you leverage it correctly. And I think what to your question of like a lot of people are trying to raise money, they're in that startup stage, they're pre-revenue, they might not have the money to retain a PR firm to do all this for them and everything. And I think some of the quickest ways that you could earn credibility with those kinds of people is one, start with like what you could absolutely control. So like things on social media and refining that presence and making your brand look as credible as possible and look as like you took it seriously. So up to the banner, the like featured sections on LinkedIn, or your Instagram profile matching your brand's identity, or your ads matching your brand's identity, and that kind of stuff. I think that all expresses credibility. I would say number two would be like do things like this, podcasts and stuff that you could jump on and have a conversation with. I call that third party credibility. So, like Joe has credibility on his own podcast. He's a third party, or I would be the third party, and he would apply that credibility to me just from the people that he's already built that with on his own podcast. So now I carry that trust with me. And I think that's another very quick way to get that kind of credibility. I wouldn't reach out to the biggest publications. Like a lot of people, I mean, it's intimidating, and there's people with 25 years experience that send pitches all day, and you don't know what is going to work and what's not. So I wouldn't go after like these Forbes or Wall Street Journals and stuff. It's going to take a lot of time, but I would start small and start with things that like people still recognize that could be authoritative. So whether it's like medium or like collecting reviews from a certain like clientele or customer based on like Trustpilot or reputable review system or something that people associate with credibility. And I mean, just start reaching out to different podcasts, television networks, local networks, especially smaller media publications that are more niche to what you're doing. And I think that would really, really help you pipeline you to get in front of these kinds of investors and people with some sort of ammunition. And when you are ready to work with a PR firm, it's going to accelerate the process tremendously. So, yeah.
Oh, that was a freaking masterclass, dude. That was.
I
I'm
know.
so glad we're recording this. I gotta go back and listen and take some notes myself so I can go apply these frameworks to my
Yeah,
own
yeah,
brand and everything. This is awesome. Let's rapid fire a few things. If
yeah,
someone
yeah.
wanted to level up their visibility in the next 6 months, let's say, what first should they stop doing?
And what should they stop doing? I mean, I guess it's dependent on the person. I would clear out the noise. I mean, you're gonna in the very beginning, you're gonna want to do everything. Everybody wants to post 7 times a day on LinkedIn and post 8 times a day on Twitter and do this and do that and do this. But then it becomes so unmanageable that you end up quitting and failing and crashing and burning, right? Because you don't know what's working, you can't study it. So I would say find out where your niche is, stay in that lane and optimize that as much as possible. If you focus solely on reaching out to the press for 6 months, you're going to be better at it in 6 months. And if you focus solely on posting on LinkedIn in 6 months, you're going to be better at posting on LinkedIn in 6 months. So I think like find out where your lane is and what's actually moving your market, and then just refine that, make that better.
I love it. So that's the stop doing. What's the opposite end of the spectrum? What should they start doing that would move the needle?
They should start looking at things a little bit more strategically, and from a perspective, like I guess point of view. I tell this to everybody. Like a lot of my stuff is not optimized to just like post, and get in front of as many people as possible. Sometimes that's the level that you're at, but I think as a startup or as a founder, you know that you don't have the time to do those like extra things if they don't work. You have to focus on the things that are actually keeping you afloat. So I would say like start like outputting less because it's taking too much time and you don't really know what's working anyways, and start being a little bit more strategic with how you're outputting. So like think of like if you're running ads or you're doing outreach or you're sending cold emails or however you're getting your clients, or they're coming from speaking engagements, whatever, then like start being a little bit more strategic with like when they come to you, what are they seeing and how are they perceiving you? Do they perceive you as the expert? And then, just make that better. So like post strategically rather than doing as much as you can.
Love it. Strategic, not overcoming yourself in terms of volume when you can't handle it just yet. Once you can handle it, go crazy, but wait till you
Hmm.
can handle it. I love asking this particular question to all the founders that I get on my podcast. What is the leadership lesson that has hit you the hardest in, let's say, the past year?
Oh man, there's so much that comes with like leadership and being a good leader. I still don't think that I am good. Like everybody's telling me on my team, "Oh, you're one of the best guys we worked with," like that kind of thing. But I don't like. I think like as any founder, you have imposter syndrome. Like sometimes I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and stuff like that. I think the best leadership lesson that I've learned is like really trusting on other people. That's like one thing that I used to struggle with a lot, and I seen a major shift when I started to do it. Is like, especially when you're the visionary and you're the founder, you're trying to get your hands dirty with everything. So when other people start built like getting into your world and they're doing like 70%, 60% less, or whatever, the metric is like you feel like you all right, just get out of here. I'll do this myself, but you physically don't have the time. So I think like really increasing your patience and teaching people, and learning those people more about themselves than they know about themselves or how they retain information, and teaching them in that way and just being extremely patient with them and building that up. I think that's like the biggest lesson that I personally learned is just being more patient and adapting to each person's style of learning and becoming better. So yeah.
That's awesome. And it's a great reflection moment for us as leaders to take that and go, hold on, I got a team of however many people. Not
Hmm.
everybody learns the same. Not everybody wants the same level of involvement from me as their leader. Some want to be touch based with every day. Some wants to be left alone and just have weekly or monthly touch bases. So you have to pivot based on who your team is. I love that. How about
Yeah.
like on a personal level? What was a personal breakthrough that came while you were scaling Golden?
Oh man, I think the biggest one that I have to talk about is probably faith. Like definitely in putting God first in everything I do. When I started, I wasn't really in the church or doing much. And I mean, more than anybody is like as time went on, you realize that like there are just some things in this world that are completely out of your control, right? Like it's up to a higher power to be able to do that. So I think that's like one of the biggest things is applying those principles into the business that's completely changed it. And that changed my mentality on absolutely everything. It changed my mentality on like the kind of ads that I'm running. Like I know it sounds crazy, or the kind of fulfillment that I'm delivering for clients. Like it's extremely better, like all this stuff, because I have those good intentions and everything. And I think ultimately that helps us grow like insanely fast as soon as we like completely made that like jump into it. And it was scary at first, but and I think that's like the biggest lesson that I guess I've learned is to just keep God first, and the rest will figure itself out.
I love it. Put God first, everything else will fall into place where it's supposed to fall anyway.
Hmm.
JJ, this was gold, quite literally and metaphorically, golden. So, if people are listening to this, watching this podcast, and they want to know more, learn more about Golden, how do they connect with you and your team?
You could connect with us on LinkedIn, JJ Carter, or you could just go to our website, gldnpr.com, and be a couple of cool videos to watch. It'll share you some information on like who we are, what we do. Drop your email, and we'll reach out. We'll take care of the rest.
Amazing. And in case you didn't catch that, just scroll down. We're going to have it in the comments, the links to all the social channels and everything for JJ and his team, along with the website as well. So, final question I got for you. What's your final message for leaders out there who want to be seen, heard, and taken seriously?
My final message for people that want to be seen, heard, and taken seriously. Man, just keep going. It's a hard world to achieve that, and just like have faith that it'll happen, and just keep saying the right things. Don't try to pretend to be somebody that you're not, or be doing something that you're not. Just be as authentic as possible, and that's going to pay off in a few years with the kind of credibility and authority that it does bring you. Being as authentic as possible. So I'd say be authentic. And just have fun and love what you do, and it all fall into place.
When you love your work, it's no longer work. I love it. Most
Mhm.
founders think that visibility is the goal, but the real move is that authority is what drives opportunity. And JJ, he just gave you the map. So now it's time for you to go and act. So if this podcast episode hit home, share with your COO, your marketing team, or a founder friend that is stuck in obscurity. And if you're ready to turn visibility into value, then you and JJ need to talk. Also, feel free to book a free discovery call, DM me, Authority, on LinkedIn. This has been the Lead, Manage, and Thrive podcast, where we help you build a business that's worth buying, even if you plan to never sell. We will see you next week, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Love y'all.